Hello.
We are officially live discussing artwork with my great friend Dora. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Just going fine. Hello, man. Nice to be here.
It is nice to have you here. If you aren't aware of Mr. Dora, he is a based artist, of course. Great friends with Mr. Prudentialist and the designer of the artwork on my channel you see now. So he's obviously
Yeah.
clearly talented in that regard. And so I think we'll just get straight into it. We're going to be discussing artwork today and aesthetics, and yeah. We general discussion, and we'll take questions from the chat later on before we leave and wrap up the stream. So I'll save those for later. So I think we'll just get into what is art in your opinion?
What is art? People have been bashing their heads over that question for like thousands of years already. Art is meaning. Art is connection. Art is you could say communication, but not always. Art is the usage of symbols to communicate some meaning, to talk to people, in a, I wouldn't say visual way, but in a emotional way. That is art. A reflection of the truth, the good and the beauty. That's art.
That would be the true version of art. The exact opposite of what we have currently, unfortunately, which is ugly, hideous, and lies, full of lies and degeneracy,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. That's because people try to use art as a tool of propaganda. I know that myself because I'm working advertising, but yeah, people want to use art as a tool for their, not to communicate their authenticity, their inner human life, but to communicate some kind of politics. And you know, art has always been political, not gonna lie, but still, uh, it's the subversion of a tool for beauty and not as a way to communicate something deep about human. That's why
Yeah, I
it's
think we've
so
just noticed
today.
that the
Oh,
people
sorry.
doing that. That's fine. I think we just noticed the people doing that have just like gotten just like precipitously low quality people doing that. So the artwork has just dropped down in quality, and they've gotten worse and worse at doing that. So I think that's why we on the right, modern art just gets a bad rap. And I think we should go into that actually, because it's an interesting
Yeah,
subject. So why does modern art get such a bad rap in the distant past?
uh, you know, I kind of don't like the thread posters, even though I thread post myself. I think that it's due to the masturbatory nature of social media art consumption. We post a picture from the 1800s and say, oh, this is beautiful, this is the work of craftsmanship and stuff like that. And it doesn't incentivize us to create. What people miss on that is that a work from the 1800s to 1700s speak to the men of back there and not the men of now. And modern art has its problems. I'm not gonna hide it, but I say that it gets a bad rep because of people wanting to live in the past and not talk to the human being of today. And we have examples of good modern art. Just look at Italian futurism or stuff like that. It can be used as good, like Art Deco. USA Art Deco is pretty much modern and it's very good. It's it, as I told before, it has to communicate with the human, and the problem is that people are trying to get their, you know, people are trying to just say that, oh, we will never be as good as people from the past, and kind of negates the potential of the human now.
That just sounds like a cope for them being a terrible artist and pumping out shitty art. That sounds like a cope.
Yeah, I'm a terrible artist. I pump shit art. Everything is a scam.
I know,
No,
right?
no, no. Yeah, no, man. It's you know, people today they kind of just follow Twitter accounts and post visual stuff, and it's alright. Post uh, old pictures, but it's not good to just get yourself stuck on that. And that's why modern art gets kind of a bad rap because people don't try to explore it as much.
I think also it gets a bad rap just because we just see these people like our enemies, the social, the progressives, the leftists, we just see them pushing out out of the colleges. This is what they're being trained to do. And all they produce is just shit on a stick, basically, and it's just terrible. And then they say it's for feminism or some other bogus globo homo messaging. And so that's what we think just art is, because all these people control the art school, actually. This is why I
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
gets a bad rap.
It's a scam for rich people, but the environment on art school. I can't talk much about the US, but the environment in art school is usually left progressive. I think that the boss is kind of universal. It's also because when you're at art school, you study the Frankfurt school, the communications guys, and they got pretty accurate stuff to say as a description of reality, like what can I say, the cultural industry from Adorno. But most of those guys were commies, so you kind of get a little bit of communism together with your communication theory. So that's basically why. But still, you can go through it without turning into a commie. I know I did.
One of the few who made it out.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's also because of the type of person that an arts career kind of attract. The open-minded, open to experience, and it's not the fault of the, what can I say, the, exactly the person. People kind of read Adorno without a philosophy background, so they think that that's it. They think that they discovered the holy grail of philosophy. And that's it. It's a lack of a more holistic approach to symbolism and education and communication. But I didn't study fine art, I studied graphic design, so maybe that's just graphic design. I don't know.
It could be, but the people who typically go into that are typically mid-witted progressives who think they're going to change the world again with their shitty artwork. It's gonna get the kids to save the world from climate change or some other bogus message like that. And those are
Yeah,
the
yeah.
vast majority of the people, and they're just these
Isn't that what
shitty
I'm trying
mid-witted
to do,
people.
though? No, don't worry, man. You know, what art can transmit is a vision of good, beautiful, and true. So, of course, any artist wants to put a bit of his soul in there, put a bit of what he really thinks in his artwork, of metaphysics, you know. So, that's kind of why every artist has the idea of changing the world through art, because I'll be honest, I kind of believe in that. I kind of believe that the only solution to a problem of modernity can only come through creativity and not through endless repeating of politics and the cycle of politics. You know.
No, I definitely
Um,
agree with you. I think if something is to come through, it's going to have to be new and unique and inspiring and creative.
yeah,
It can't just be recycled something from the past. It's kind of kitschy. It's not unique. It's not what we
yeah,
need
yeah,
for our age.
yeah, exactly that. Our age has very the problems of our age are unique to our age, and nothing can nothing from the past can kind of give us a solution, you know and the same thing on the other way. We eh, how can I say, every piece of art is how can I say, it's kind of talking to what came before and what will come after. So it's a critique and a counter critique at the same time. So you gotta do a piece that kind of speaks with the all the other pieces that came before and gives a new way towards the future. And that's kind of it. uh, you gotta acknowledge the problems of the past, and you gotta give a solution to the way forward in order to capture what's really beautiful in this world.
Definitely, and that solution isn't going to come from these midwits from art school, these getting their liberal arts degrees, you know. And then they think they're so brilliant, you know. They understand everything, you know. They reject the traditional artwork of the school of philosophy. They reject it. They knew better. And so when they
Yeah.
produce their artwork, it's so funny. I remember hearing the story one time that a janitor was at an art museum and they found this, you know, this supposedly art, this great art, and he thought it was just trash, so he threw it away. And that's modern art in a nutshell for you. It can be mistaken from trash by a janitor.
Yeah. I remember seeing a Roger Scruton documentary where he says that there was an art piece that was basically an unkempt bed. You know, another, it was a chick who made it. She just put a bed on some museum and, just ruffle the sheets a little bit, and that's it. That's art. What that actually is a scam for the rich. A scam for millionaires to put their money into, and in order to and resell it later at a better price, because it's a tax cut.
Yeah,
So
typically
that's why.
modern art is just a laundry scheme. You know, it's a modern 21st century laundry scheme. You know, that's a bit more fancy than just the laundromats of the early 19th century. A bit more sophisticated, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, but art has always been the business of rich people. If a rich guy didn't pay Michelangelo, we wouldn't have the Sistine Chapel. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, typically
Before was,
all good artwork has come from the elite class of whatever age or the higher classes, we'll say, because those
yeah,
people usually can afford to pay talented people. It isn't Joe Schmo, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah, and we both know that it's the elite who forms the culture, so there's no other way around it.
Yeah, that's probably why we have terrible artwork and no like good artists is because they fund these shitty art degrees. You know, they're the ones who fund them. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's a reflection of the materialism in our society. People don't care about the transcendental nature of art itself, but only about the end product, which is the tax cut, or the store of value where you can resell it and keep the value. So that's kind of it. It's a scam for rich people. They don't care about beauty. They don't care about art. They care about the material benefits of it. So they will, buy a banana stuck to a wall because it has a contract that says that it's worth, some millions, I don't know, and they're gonna resell it and get their millions back, and everything's gonna be alright. It's not for a tool for beauty; it's a tool for money.
Unfortunately, it's modern context. It is, but I think we can definitely reclaim it, and we're seeing it with people like you and other artists who have decided to reject the degeneracy, so to say. You know, and start producing some more interesting art pieces. We'll say.
Yeah, I'm not a no, not that much of a big deal. I just run a Twitter account, man. But yeah, I kind of was just fed up with my regular day-to-day job, so I decided, hey, I'm gonna do something on stream for the guys, for the boys, the Midwave boys, and I just kept going at it.
You
It's
did,
been
and you make
fun.
some talented artwork for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely really talented. There's very few people out there who are actually talented in artwork. The people on Twitter who virtue signal about how great they are. You know, they drew a great painting with their dog in kindergarten. You know, they're the same people who go on to colleges. And then we're going to move on, segue to our next subject. Um, they start producing artwork that we call corporate artwork, which is just another level of globo homo. I mean,
yeah. Check the private chat. I sent you some examples. My problem with flat artwork, the corporate artwork, it's the implicit vision of man inside of it. The and where everyone is kind of reduced to external features with no shape, no they have shape obviously, but not a human proportion shape. It's it, let's see, if art is a way of, you know, what can I say? If art's a way of showcasing what's beautiful about human nature, that is fucking disgusting. That's it. So, as a designer, I gotta say there are practical considerations of it. Like I myself have used flat design in my career. It's a tool, and it is mostly to keep work between big tech designers standardized. Google employs, I don't know how fucking many designers. There's a fucking lot of them, and you gotta herd a bunch of cats. You
Uh,
gotta
oh, he cut out for a
make a
second.
bunch of. Oh, I
Okay,
can't.
he's back now.
Sorry.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So you work at Google. There's thousands of designers working at Google, and it's basically trying to herd a bunch of cats, and you can't have every art piece coming out of Google being on a different style. So flat design comes as a way to standardize the work between a fuck ton of artists. So yeah. Oh yeah, that one I fucking hate it. Yeah, as I was telling you before, it's shapeless, it's faceless, it's the reduction of human being to only a consumer with few external characteristics. It's literally written on their clothes, written on their skin, and that's it. No internal life, no internal feeling, no beauty in it. Just corporations, you know, just consumerism, and that's the most disgusting part of flat design. It's sterile, it's meaningless, and it doesn't put the human in a good light.
Yeah, and we have this monstrosity artwork that replaced the good artwork that we used to have in the early 2000s. We used to have a skeuomorphic design on the Apple iPhone and other Android and other devices. Artwork used to be at least a little bit less soul crushing than it is now. Now it's just completely soulless, completely homogenized, globo artwork. It's a
Soy punk,
tragedy, honestly.
soy punk aesthetics.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah. So skeuomorphism is good, but it's hard to make an UX out of it because you can't really standardize it, and it's hard to keep the work consistent because of the amount of detailing. But yeah, I remember the time when phones were more skeuomorphic.
Yeah, they used to be more, just more beautiful looking, more inspiring, I guess is the word I would use, although I hate to use that for a consumer product, but a lot better than
Yeah,
just the soul crushing globo artwork that we have today, which is just makes you want to kill yourself, basically.
yeah, you will not own nothing and be happy, right?
Exactly, that's the message behind this artwork.
Yeah,
And I think these are the main reasons why art just gets a bad rap. Art and modern art just gets a bad rap on the right. It's because we just lump it in together with this modern trash and all this global messaging, and the liberals and the colleges. We can't really see the more in-depth artists like you who get out of that system, promote decent stuff. It's very hard to find quality. So we
yeah,
just like
yeah,
lump all of you together. And so we just assume that's what art is.
yeah. There are a bunch of other designers who are left wing, and they're very talented. You know, I think that you know talent comes outside of politics, and I think that left people can produce good artwork that can even speak to us. You know, but I gotta agree that what modern art school usually pushes for mediocrity. Um, it's a lowering of standards and a forgetting of the classics, and that's a great problem.
It definitely is if you want to inspire a society of people who actually want to achieve something great instead of McDonald's commercials. which is what we're
Yeah.
doing basically.
Yeah, but at the same time, the artist gotta eat. So, at the end of the day, you're gonna hire the guy to do a McDonald's commercial, and he will do it.
I guess that is true.
Yeah, I done some stuff that I'm not proud of. It is what it is, man.
It is. You gotta do to live in this modern age. Um, and so with that, I think we'll move on to our next topic with Mr. Dora. So I think we'll talk about aesthetics because I think that's a pretty interesting topic because we on the distant right, we seem to get kind of hung up on classical aesthetics of classical artwork, and we don't seem to appreciate the finer details, and we just kind of, in a masturbatory sense, we're just like staring at it, and we
Yeah.
think that's just all what good artwork is. So why is that wrong? Why is
Sorry, I left because some guy in the chat wanted you to ask me about the furry commissions.
that? We'll save those for later.
Yeah, I never done it. So about aesthetics. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, that kind of threw me off a little bit.
No, no, it's fine. So I think I said, I think we on the right get caught up in aesthetics. We think that classical aesthetic is all that really matters. That makes good artwork or anything original. So why is that wrong? Why do we get caught up in this aesthetics game?
It's, how can I say? It's all right to enjoy old artwork. Sculptures. Lord knows I do. But what I have to say is that we cannot get stuck in a easy visual art style like vaporwave, for instance. It's good. Don't get me wrong. I don't vaporwave. I know, but mm, it's stale at this point. And the problem is that when you rehash and rehash and rehash, you started cargo coating it. You start kind of doing just for the sake of doing without really intention of it, without really transmitting a message. That's what happened with vaporwave. That's what happened when you rehash and rehash and rehash the classics. You turn into kitsch. You turn into you know something that it's repeated because it's convention, but it's not done with a certain level of intent, and that's what's bad about it. It doesn't just repeating for the sake of repetition. But yeah, I think that's the point.
Yeah, I see. We just kind of like there's no intentionality behind it. We just kind of like in this like masturbatory sense, just like it because it's all
Yeah,
that's really good
yeah,
that's left because all the modern artwork is just so trash. Yeah, this corporate
yeah,
artwork too.
yeah. If you how can I say graphic design comes from modern roots. It started in modernity. The medium of the digital artwork that I do is inherently postmodern. So we can't avoid modernity. We can't just say digital art is degenerate, collage art is degenerate. We gotta kind of understand, accept, and try to, how can I say, integrate it better into the conditions of now, instead of just keep rehashing and repeating the past.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. It needs to have like a theme behind it, like a good thing, like good, the true and the beautiful behind the artwork, which is what modern art is lacking. It has the opposite. I think that's what you're trying to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, exactly.
Which is definitely true. I definitely agree with it. When I just look at artwork today, very uninspiring. There's nothing original about it. Just kind of copy and paste, midwittery, office job type people who are doing it. Nothing original about it. There's no like deep message behind it. It's just like soulless consumerism, which is all we have around us. So I think that's why we tend to like caught up in this classic aesthetic game, in this masturbatory game, which doesn't produce anything original, which is what we need.
Yeah, yeah. I think that a new world can only come through creativity. We gotta bring forth a vision of future for men, and it has to be in some sense apolitical but political at the same time. you know it has to be it, it has to reflect values, but not exactly in a political way, and that's the hard part of it, because how can I say, the left usually concerns itself as seeing art as a tool for propaganda, as trying to politicize their artwork. That's why you go to the Museum of Modern Art and there's a Bodike lesbian with a suit that says "fuck white people" a bunch of times. That's trash. But yeah, that's art being used as a tool for propaganda, and transmitting the message, and not exactly coming from the author but coming from a political ideology that's on itself alive alive in the heads of people. It's a reproduction of a mind virus, and the right wing tries to aestheticize politics, try to make politics be a thing of beauty on itself. That's why there's endless discussion on Twitter, say trying to look for the pitch perfect ideology, not what works, not what's just functional, but what's beautiful on itself. You know, and artists on the right also try to put on values on the artwork, but not in a propaganda propagandistic way, and that's the main difference here. That's the dialectics that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. That tends to be the dialectic we tend to see in the modern art world. So an interesting thing I thought about a couple days ago was like, why is art important? And I just like looked around me. I thought like art is all around us. It's like
Yeah,
it's in the design of like the apps you use. The posters that inspire the movie directors. It's a very fundamental human thing, kind of like music is. Which is what
yeah,
I thought about. Many people don't seem to understand that. They seem to just only think that art is just for its aesthetic purposes when it's actually much more deeper. It's a form of
yeah,
expression and conveying ideas in a way that's not in words. Because there's a great saying, a picture can say 1,000 words. And that is very true. And the message that we tend to get from that is just trash now, but it doesn't have to be that way. So I think we need to understand.
yeah, exactly. At some point, we stopped caring about the beauty of the things that we use, the beauty of the buildings that we live, the beauty in everything. We just start, materialism and function. On design school, people try to hit me over the head saying that form follows function, and to an extent, that's true. You wouldn't design a chair that you can't sit on, but still, there's space for beauty on everyday objects, and there's space for beauty on everything around you, because otherwise we live in a soulless world. Something that it's by itself ugly, and that's the main problem of it.
Yeah, I agree with you that form over function statement is a classical statement. And the problem with that is like, yeah, things need to function, but when you make them just these ugly, I'm just gonna bring up apartment blocks for an example because it's a very traditional one.
Yeah,
You just have these modernist architects making these buildings that are just hideous and nobody wants to live in them, and they just pollute the landscape of these classical European cities and American cities, and then they just tear them down and replace them with soulless glass buildings. It's not even much of a replacement, and so they're not getting the
it,
lesson here.
it's not made for human. It's made for ants. It's the I think that Bab likes to say it's the ideology of East.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. It's the way these people view human beings as just
Yeah,
masses to be herded into, these apartment blocks or, used with this simple art that only works because we can't think of anything more deeply than that. That's what tends to be the problem with modern architects and artists is that they just tend to fall into that trap form follows function. Their core, their modernist teachers. They'll tend to think to the classical philosophers. So that's why I think we don't really see anything new in the art world, because it can't really come about with these people who control the schools that produce the artists and architects.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, we got new tech, we got new avenues for human expression. I think that, how can I say, new for the sake of new, it's not gonna bring anything good, because we're in this problem for new for the sake of new. But still, now we got the, you know, every cell phone is a camera. We got millions of photographers out there, way more than any other time in human history. And new avenues of expression, it's open to us. You can do stream as an art form. I don't know. You can do performance art 24/7. But yeah, the problem is not new for the sake of new. The problem is making something that speaks in the right way to people. And that's the problem.
Yeah, it's missing that fundamental concept. Just it needs that fundamental thing. Otherwise, it just degenerates into this garbage that we see today that pollutes our eyes. Like everywhere we look, we see the degenerate artwork, as we like to say on the right. Degeneracy is everywhere.
Yeah, degeneracy is everywhere. Yeah, man, I kind of agree with that. But at the same time, there are smart and talented people, lefting and doing art and doing everything else. But the problem is that it's kind of a bubble. This social media bubble kind of stops us from seeing it. But yeah, I do agree that there's a problem in the art world and in art in general. But I just, how can I say? I just think that it's easy for us to just say that everything we don't like is degenerate, because that's a Giga Chad line. Everyone that I like is good, beautiful, and smart and talented and stuff like that. And the ones who I don't like are talentless hacks. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, that's a great statement. I like using that. Although we probably use
Yeah,
it a little bit
yeah.
too much. We use it too
I think that I
liberally.
stole it from someone else. So hey, have your fun, man. The Giga Chad line.
I think the problem with those artists who are talented, who are actually talented with their artwork, who are progressive, is that the reason why their artwork is shit, even though they're good, is just because they want to propagandize people into their
Yeah,
ideology, and that just consumes them. So they produce this just
yeah,
trash, unoriginal stuff. We see the same thing with movies now. It's just propaganda. Like even though some of these people are talented, it's ruined by the
yeah.
propaganda, unoriginality that just taints the work.
Yeah, exactly. There are very smart and talented people working at LucasArts making the new Star Wars movie, and you can see, the detailing on the 3D effects is fucking amazing. The problem is exactly what you said. You know, pure talent doesn't matter if the message, the overall structure of the movie, it's a tool for propaganda, makes the artistry involved in it get totally lost. And yeah, that's the point. Art become a tool for propaganda, especially on the culture industry. There's something interesting to be said about the relation of capital in it. You and do you know about K-pop? I don't know much, but I can say this. It's a fabric of, it's an industry of stars, but not an industry of artists. You know, they get a 8-year-old child. They train it in dancing and singing through all their life until they're adult. When they're adult, they do a band with that child, and the child makes success. It's a fabric of talent. It's not authentic in any way. It's pure capitalism producing for itself and reproducing with with amazing skill. People who are on that shit are very skilled, but it's soulless. It's pure consumption, pure capital, but it's soulless. You know, done with amazing talent, but soulless. That's the whole deal of it. The cultural industry, it's very strong on that front. Slandering K-pop like that. Oh yes.
Yeah, well, modern music doesn't isn't really great. It tends to be very trash, just like art. It tends to be very
Yeah.
soulless, corporate,
No,
meaningless.
on the US, at least people can try to be famous by their talents. Or in a place like South Korea, you got no avenue for that. You gotta enter the industry system, and you gotta be groomed to be a star since you're a little kid. Can you imagine that? It's not even your authenticity in the music. It's just an industry. They, you know, they dominated the formula of how to launch a product, and they're street artists like a product, and that's it.
I think we also see something you brought up earlier. We see this phenomenon in video games actually too, as video games keep getting better, and their artwork, it keeps getting more realistic and pretty, but they just seem to be less interesting and
Yeah,
captivating. Just tends to be just bland fetch quest or something really boring. And the older video games just had like original creativity in them that you can't have now. We see these in video games like Half Life,
oh, I
the
miss
older
Half
like
Life,
Star Wars
man.
games. No, I bring up a point here. It's a good point though.
Yeah,
Like they're good games, they're well designed. They have their atmospheres are original. You can't recreate them.
yeah, yeah,
Talented. You can see the talent behind the people who created them. And the artwork in them isn't as great as today, but those games are way better than modern games because they're just soulless
yeah,
corporate media, essentially.
yeah. It's because of the amount of money put into it. It cannot fail, so it has to appease everyone. So every sale has to be a blockbuster. So they play it safe. They take no risk, and that's it.
Yeah, it's just all about that bottom line and also shoehorning in that global homo. We gotta have that diversity quota, of course, which just
Yeah,
is the cherry on top of the shit milkshake, basically, of culture today.
yeah. The soy punk.
How much do you
Yeah,
think
man.
artwork plays in culture?
Well, art shapes culture and culture shapes art, and that's it. And in general, you when you manage to capture the institutions who produce art, you manage to capture a culture. And you know there are always people who are outside the art world who do stuff, and there are always people in the art world who are contrary to the culture. But still, on the mass level, on the mass scale, you know people kind of get their takes mostly from movies. You see the Marvel brain phenomenon, and people try to get everything from culture in general. Like, let's say Lord of the Rings made way more right wing extremists than every other 3 hour YouTube video ever done. Because since art has a culture producing effect, culture shaping effect, and since art is a way to relay complex meaning and metaphysics using subtext and or using visual symbols or anything else, it touches people on a way more deep level than a straight up political message. And that's why usually the artwork global homo brainwash fails, and Lord of the Rings still a classic. you know uh,
Yeah, or they
you
they tend to they do the same thing like what Amazon did. They take something great, original like Lord
Mhm.
of the Rings, and they just lower the quality by putting in the gate works and all the other nonsense and gayness is the right word I would say. And then they just ruin the art form by polluting it
yeah,
with this message.
Yeah, exactly. You can, you know, what can I say? You can see that the effect of you can see the effect of that had a fuck. You can see the effect that had on people. Like on the trailer, everyone is posting that token quote that evil cannot create, only corrupt what's already good. Um, and you can see what they're doing. It's clear as day that they just want to colonize an aspect of culture. It's all about cultural domination and not about producing something that's good, you know? And yeah, there's no way around it, man. It's gonna be crap. But the original product still lives on. People can still get the book. People can still get the other movies, and until they start going back and getting all the DVDs and trying to erase them and changing them, they're already stuck on it. They can't change it.
That is true. They can't change the older physical forms of media, but
Yeah,
it's the same for the younger generations who have just grown up knowing nothing but Netflix, YouTube, Amazon for their media. That's all they've ever known because that's all modern generations are raised upon. And so that's all they'll have to look back on because most people in the younger generations, they don't tend to read the books of the past or watch our sphere, except for the based ones, which there are, but the vast majority of people just go with the flow of modern
yeah,
culture, which leads them to a progressive retardation, essentially, and mediocrity.
yeah. But what can you expect from people? It is what it is. During most history, most people just went on with the flow. And not everyone can be a contrarian. Not everyone has a disposition of it, and not everyone wants to be a contrarian. So they just go with the flow and they don't care. Thinking about politics is in itself a luxury that few can afford because regular people are just thinking about real life. We can do it in abstractions, but most people can't.
And we also just see it, the forms they can't really see, like in the media and in artwork.
Yeah,
That isn't just like out there, but it's there. They can't really see that. They're not
yeah, yeah,
into that, so they can't really see how
yeah,
they're being manipulated.
yeah. It's because people just, how can I say, people just absorb the message without really getting it, and that's a big thing. If it can be well done, but when it's not well done, it's very obvious what is being done. Sorry, but yeah, people can people when we talk about art, people see something, it touches them, makes them feel a connection to it, but sometimes they feel the connection, but they don't get it, don't get the meaning of it. They understand in a instinctive level, but not in an intellectual level. And that's how it goes. And when we talk about mass culture and stuff like that, people get the heroic feel of the Marvel movie, but they don't get the, how can I say, the corporate subtext of just being produced for selling. You know, people get the whole good versus evil in Lord of the Rings, but they don't get the deeper meaning of it. So that's just how it goes on every piece of media. They get the feel, but they don't get you know the the underlying message. But they get it on an instinctive level, and that's why when people try to make art into propaganda, they fail because when you see the message, it's not as effective as when the message is hidden in the subtext. You know?
Yeah, because the people doing it just aren't talented enough to do that anymore. That's why older artwork is just a lot more effective in its messaging, even if it was political, because they understood this stuff more in the modern, the midwits, the soy beards, as I like to call them. They can't understand this.
Yeah,
Like all they understand is Marvel movies and progressive memes on Twitter. That's all they really understand. So that's the kind of shit they're gonna regurgitate into society and the culture at large in their media and artwork that they do.
Yeah, yeah, that's it, man. But at the same time, what can you expect from normies? It just is people consume without really thinking. And that's just how it goes. It's always been like that. Now the regular person has way more access than like 100 years ago, and it's just for mass consumption.
Yeah, I think that's the problem that we on the dissident right, whatever you want to call us. I'll use the word dissident right. That we notice. We make the memes about the Marvel movie people. The soy
Yeah,
jacks. And these people who just engage in modern culture. It has this flashy stuff in it and multi-billion-dollar budgets, but it's like ultimate message is just gay.
consume
it's it's
product.
it's consumerism. It's gay.
It's yeah,
It doesn't produce. It doesn't inspire you to do anything productive in reality. It's just there for
yeah,
you to um, intellectually. No, I'm not gonna use that word. It's just there for you to consume, and waste your time.
yeah,
I think that's the
yeah.
problem that we
No,
have with modern artwork, I guess, in a way, because movies are art. I would say movies are art, a
yeah, yeah.
form of art.
Movies are art. Yeah. So, it's the same thing. On the right wing does the same shit. It's the the, con- the consumptionary. It's
Consumerism.
sorry. Yeah, the consumerism in media. You can listen to a 3 hour podcast about some obscure author on academic agents, not wanting to diss him, but still, the behavior of consuming media to waste time, it's a problem on every with everyone. And even if we criticize their choice in media, we're just criticizing an aesthetic choice in media and not the real problem. The masturbatory consumption of media in itself. You know?
No, I definitely think that we're hypocrites. Obviously, we like to
Yeah.
say that it's okay when we do it. We don't like to, go into the deeper forms of actual,
Yeah,
intellectual
yeah.
artwork or the deeper significance of paintings and sculptures. We like to like copy it, just in this physical way and just say, "Oh wow, it looks good." The Greek statue of Zeus or whatever. It's great. It's classical artwork. But not like not examine the significance that it had to the people who made it. And how they made the tools that were used to sculpt it.
I think that art is intrinsically connected to its civilization. Like the Parthenon, the Greece Parthenon. It was once the height of its whole culture and civilization, but now it's a museum piece because the art piece died along with the culture that produced it.
Yeah, now we just have Coca-Cola ads. That's our modern art form, or the McDonald's commercial, which is
In,
just an extremely degenerate
insha-
form of American artwork.
yeah, inshallah, someday it will all go to dust.
We can hope. I definitely think, the up and coming generation of artists, people like you, be more like intellectually curious people. I think they're turned away from just the way that modern art, and then and the way you use it, the context it's going, and they just hate the way that's being used to just to push a message. And I think we could definitely
Yeah,
see these people move towards your direction, producing something more creative
yeah,
and something more
artists are
interesting
usually
coming out of that.
contrarians. Yeah, artists are usually contrarians. Artists just like to do shit for the sake of doing shit and going against other people. At least that's just the way I am.
The good ones, at
But
least.
yeah, the artist temperament just it's basically that.
Because the
Yeah.
good ones who
So
are in the system, like we just said earlier, they're
yeah,
I mean, it's like producing something good, but then just taking like a toilet paper and just destroying it like it's meaningless, with this message of progressivism and gay, messaging,
Yeah,
which is forced upon it, by, of course, the big wigs and the executives and the professors at the art schools and just the writers of the books, the trash modern art books, in the midwits, it all goes together. It all connects to why art is so
yeah.
shitty.
It all connects. It all connects. You're right. It's the same thing with the cathedral. We got incentive structures that incentivize some kind of specific kind of production to specific kind of people, and that's just how it goes. Um, I worked in an ad agency, and they asked me to do some post stuff, and I did. It's salary. I can't just say no, and also I'm a consummate professional. I wouldn't, just not do because of cause. But still, I think that we got a whole incentive chain that kind of kind of forces people all along the way to follow through with the pause, and that's it.
Yeah, the incentive chain that produces corporate art, like we saw earlier, which is just stain upon the eyes. It goes all the way back to the State Department, of course, who are
Yeah,
funding these professors in the modern art school. It always goes back, trace the funding people. You'll understand where the source of the
yeah, of
pause comes
course.
from.
Yeah,
It isn't just, it isn't organic. No, this pause comes from a pie. It's way too organized not to be. It just is. It comes from the institutions, which is how you
yeah,
know the which is how you know it comes from elites, basically, in a sense for people who don't understand that concept. But I think we're at 51 minutes now. I think we'll get into some questions and closing topics, and I think we'll head out here today. If that's cool
all
with you,
right.
Mr. Dora.
All right, that was an amazing talk. Let's go.
I think so. It was a great discussion. I learned some stuff about artwork, which I didn't know before because, of course, I'm an ignorant American. But and we just produce Marvel movies, so I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah,
Mr.
it
High
is what it
Effort
is, man.
says shalom. So
Shalom.
High FX says, "What is your favorite corporation's corporate art?"
My favorite corporate art is yeah the the corporation art. It's all fucking the same. I don't know, man. I really like Google material design. I think that they kind of get stuff on point on usability and stuff like that. But that's it's a professional thing. When I want a quick and easy color palette, I usually go to Google Material Design shit and steal from there.
All right, Mr. High Effort again says, "Ask him when he's going to start selling NFTs." Well, I think he already
I
does.
already I already sell NFTs, and I know High Effort. He's one of the boys from the Discord. So hey, shout out to the Bitwave boys.
Mr. Doingus says, "Is this Brazilian a stormer or just edgy?"
I'm just edgy.
All right, well, he's just edgy. He's also based, of course. There was a pretty good Austrian painter artist who actually did a way better as a politician.
Oh
Hmm.
yes, he did. And we all know the Austrian painter.
Yes, I think we all know Mr. Austrian painter very well. Of course,
Yeah.
his actions are not always the best, but he had some interesting ideas. We'll just say that. The obsoletist says Dora does great art since seen lots of it. Okay.
Thank you, Upso. I love you. Give me a DM later. It's one of the Discord boys. Don't worry.
He also says you have amazing hair, which I mean, I think you have pretty good hair, so no
Yeah,
questions
I
about
take care
that.
of it.
High Effort again says ask Dora about his furry commissions. Ooh, did you make some
Uh,
degenerate artwork?
I never done furry shit. That's a line that I won't cross. Actually, I don't know if you want to consider that furry, but I did the Prudentialist avatar with the frog. So if
He's
that's
almost
how you
borderline,
ship, I
people.
don't
You gotta
know.
keep an eye on him.
Yeah, yeah, gotta keep an eye. He asked me, but some art that I did for a client that I'm not very proud of. I did an entire 300 pages pickup artist manual that I'm not proud of. But hey, it's money. I really needed that.
The obsoleta says slandering K-pop like that.
It's trash.
I agree. Modern music is shit. Most of it. Or they make one series which is great, but then when you're hooked, they fool the
We're
second
talking
series
about
with
Lord of the
woke
Rings.
BS.
Yeah,
That is
like
very
the
true.
boss. Yeah,
So we
I
call
never
it the
saw the boys.
pause.
Yeah, the boss.
Mr. Raging Mandrill says, afternoon, gents. Good afternoon, Mr. Mandrill. He also says,
Hello.
hello, fellow monkey.
Hello.
Mr. Mandrill asks, how much does Zora charge for commissions? Um,
It depends on the work. Really depends. Hit me up in the DMs. I think that we can arrange something, but it depends.
he does really good artwork, as you can see by my channel artwork. I would highly recommend him. His links are in the description if you want to message him. What are Dora's thoughts about the arts of said Austrian painter? Well, that's an interesting
Well,
question.
getting rejected at art school really does a number to you. Well, my honest opinion is that he has some flaws, but there's no artist in this world that doesn't have flaws. Um, how can I say? He didn't develop his own style, and I think that what made him get rejected was that trying to only emulate the classics. It's something that doesn't bring forth your true uh, authenticity in artwork. So yeah, he should have developed a style of his own, and maybe if he done that, we wouldn't have a big chunk of history. I think that you know he had flaws, but he also had good fundamentals on color, and I think that he could have been a little bit more unique, and that would be better as an artist. You know, that's it.
Yeah, maybe if he was better, the incident wouldn't have happened. I'm not gonna say it on YouTube, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
That depends on how many fetishes he's supposed to include. I don't even want to
Yes,
discuss this
exactly.
degeneracy. It goes way too far. Next. We're not
Yeah, yeah.
discussing that on my channel. Mr. Mandrill says, Prude is definitely not a furry. He even thinks anime is degenerate. What do you think
Oh
about the
well.
anime question? That's pretty interesting.
Um. Uh, you know, as a South American, I seen a lot of anime when I was growing up, especially the base ones like Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Saint Seiya. Today I even watched some. Like I watched JoJo recently with my girlfriend, and it's not a problem with anime. The problem is twofold. One, the how can I say? The cultural industry capital that produces it, and two, the people who consume it. Because you can, breaking news. You can watch anime without being a complete degenerate, and you can also be a complete degenerate without watching anime. There is good anime who good anime that is can be considered artwork, like the most of what's the fucking name of this guy? Miyazaki stuff. Grave of the Fireflies is a piece of art, very good. And it can be an art form. The problem is that the fucking weeb, I fucking hate the weeb, fucking destroyed the potential of art there. The fucking weeb only cares about
The degenerate
the
Coomers, as I like to
yeah, the
call them.
Jared Coomers. The Jared Coomer only wants to the RAP isekai anime and stuff like that. And that's a problem. It's not a problem intrinsic with the medium. It's a problem with overconsumption, market, and the consumer. The market is that every time that there's something that's popular, a bunch of other anime copy to copy the popular thing. That's just normal. And every anime that's produced, it's goes through a very strict, how can I say, research process in order to know if it's gonna make money before airing. And of course, not everyone makes money. That's just the nature of the game. But they know that if they include some stuff like RAP or isekais and stuff like that just sells because some sick people out there just buy it. The Japanese people they are more capitalist than the USA because some anime content wouldn't fly through on the USA market, and they just do it. You know, it's immoral, but they do it.
I think the
So
boomers
yeah,
give the whole medium a bad rap, sort of like how modern art is, like we talked about earlier.
yeah, it's a Coomer problem. You know, if
The
you
Opsolunus
can.
says, "What's his favorite Brazilian televono?"
My favorite telenovela is, let's see, I don't watch much telenovela. Senhora do
TV is kind of
Destino is a
gay.
good
I think
one.
that's what it is. Is that
Avenida
TV?
Brasil is also good. What?
Is that TV?
Um, yeah, it's basically Brazilian soap operas. It's telenovela.
No, we don't have
It's
time
South
for that
American soap opera.
degeneracy here.
It's culture, and it's a shit post. I know this guy. Oh, so if you wanna watch a good telenovela, get Avenida Brasil. I'll send you the link. It's good shit.
All right, with that, I think we'll wrap up. I think that was an excellent discussion. Mr. Dora's links can be in the description if you're interested in contacting him. He produces excellent artwork that isn't degenerate or gay. And if you enjoyed that live stream, please like and subscribe, and also comment down below and tell me what you like and dislike about the live stream, as I greatly appreciate the constructive criticism. And have an excellent afternoon, everyone.